So this is part 2 of Unit 3E, and we're doing question 2, and it says that due to poor sales, the company eliminated a number of jobs. 25% of the 300 men in full-time positions lost their jobs, while 20% of the 300 women in full-time position lost their jobs. 80% of the 150 men in part-time positions lost their jobs, and 75% of the 600 women in part-time positions lost their jobs. Explain why this is an example of Simpson's paradox and how the paradox arises. Well, I've collected the data, so we had a total of 300 full-time men, 150 part-time men, 300 full-time women, 600 part-time women. Here are the percentages, 25 and 80 respectively for the men, and 20 and 75 for the women. And here are the number of lost jobs. So in each case, relative to men and women, a higher percentage of men, full-time men, lost their jobs, and a higher percent of part-time men lost their jobs. On the other hand, when you combine the two, it turns out that a lower percent of full-time men lost their jobs, 43.3, as opposed to 56.7 women. And so we have a paradox, Simpson's paradox, and because we have discrepancy when you separate the two parties in terms of full-time and part-time, the women fared better. On the other hand, when you combine parties, combined full-time and part-time, then the men fared better and the women fared worse. And what's going on here? Well, what's going on is we have an unequal division of data. Notice there's only 150 part-time men associated with the men, and whereas there's 600 part-time women, and that discrepancy leads to the paradox. Now let's do number 3, and for 3 we're given that the table below shows the number of people testing positive for a certain disease among those who do not have the disease, and among those who do have the disease, and among those who don't. Use the table to answer the question. So here's our table of those who have the disease, the no disease, the total number, tested positive, tested negative, total number. So the question is, what percentage of those that don't have the disease tested negative? Well, there were 880, this is the row for no disease, and this is the column for testing negative, and the entry is 8,787. And that is what percentage of those that don't have the disease tested negative. And the total that do not have the disease is 9,864. And when you carry out that quotient and multiply it times 100%, what you get is 89.1%, and that is option C. So now let's let's go stop right here. We'll go on to the another video, part